Hello, everybody, and welcome to this OT cybersecurity expert talk between Stora Enso and SSH Communications Security. Today, we will talk about the OT-related cybersecurity topics, issues, challenges, and solutions, and a real customer case. Covering areas of risk management, enhancing safety, which we all know is important, but also productivity. We have in the agenda short introductions and then a dialogue discussion and an opportunity for dialogue with you in the audience. And here in the beginning, I would like to thank everybody who's showing interest. I hope this will be a rewarding dialogue and discussion for you as an audience. I'm really happy to introduce Mr. Juha Suominen, who is the Service Delivery Manager at Stora Enso. Welcome, Juha.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
And myself, my name is Rami Raulas. I'm the interim CEO at SSH Communications Security. Now, we are all aware of the risks associated with OT attacks. I don't think I have to remind us about it, about malware, bad patch management, ransomware, outage, stoppage of operations or production. Indeed, KPMG have issued a CEO survey where cybersecurity risks have become the #1 risk topic. So wake up, CFOs in companies, for risk management. Cyber is no longer seen just as an IT issue. It's a fundamental business operation imperative. I mean, can you even get a cybersecurity insurance for your company nowadays after all these hacks and ransomwares and stoppages? And then again, we have to think and remember that this is also a must issue. With the regulations, legislation, especially things like NIS2, Network Information Security, the law legislation in Europe is coming into force not far from now. OT has been weaponized. This is a term from Gartner Group, weaponized OT. I mean, there have been so many attacks on domain controllers. If you think about Maersk or Norsk Hydro, I mean, this is not a picture of Maersk ships. Most of mishaps in OT and IT, for that matter as well, come from the right credentials, right access credentials in the wrong hands, like somebody getting access to Florida water and threatening to put 10,000 ppm of lye into drinking water, which could kill people. Now, that's a great ransomware thought, an idea. As a company, we've been working now for multiple years, not only for the hybrid IT-OT convergence topic, which everybody is talking about, but more so in pure OT started implementations and projects. Here's one example of a ship system and shipping company out of Singapore, hundreds of ships. Earlier the service engineer had to actually fly to the harbor, wait for the ship to arrive to fine-tune something, fix something, or make or update something. Now the system is running in AWS in the cloud. Connections are made over satellite networks to the ships. Now we have remote role-based access control, zero trust, just in time for the control systems of the ships, whether it's navigation system or diesel engines. Another example is a machine builder for container ports. I mean, ports are fully automated. They are remotely controlled. In this particular case, there are 37,000 different devices that need to be accessed and controlled separately. The earlier attempt to solve this problem with trying to tunnel things or trying to isolate things was just way too complicated. With a new solution, now you can really limit identity-based authentication, identity-based access, and also only grant access for just in time, just enough, kind of zero trust approach to the right targets for the engineers. So these are doable. This has been in production for a couple of years now. And then last but not least, the production control, remote access, enabling Industry 4.0. You can see here it's a paper machine, so you'll see soon more about that. But it could also be an electricity producer. It could be another manufacturer, process in the other process industry. And once again, it's about getting this just in time, just enough access, 4 eyes monitoring, live monitoring, putting the audit trails, recordings in place, avoid dubious holes in the fence or tunnels under the fence or climbing over the fence, kind of a digital gatekeeper. But this is also a question of scalability. We have one customer in the semiconductor business industry where there are close to 500,000 connections per day between systems which are governed and controlled. So it's also a high volume business. And then you really need to have a system and infrastructure and actually architecture of a solution that scales automatically. And not all legacy products, if any, actually can do that. So the system that we are talking about here today is a controlled access, whether it's for the modern applications or for kind of running solutions on an application server, HMIs or applications, or indeed supporting legacy access and legacy control for systems on the target environments, PLCs, other control systems. Now, typically, it has been difficult to govern and control just with the VPN solution. It's just too much of an open door. So we've been helping customers to build a solution whereby we still get the identity-based access control request from the service engineer to get access and approval by the shift or site manager to grant access to the target environment. So taking under control all accesses, whether they are really modern or legacy-based, even with connections that are based on legacy industrial protocols, which by default are not protected or encrypted or obfuscated by any means. So we can add that layer to them. Now, there are multiple ways of building a solution like this, whether you want to work with kind of a never call in, just open the port connections from within the production or operational environments, and maybe use some jump hosts, whether they are in the DMCs 3.5 or for the IT matter in 4, or there's another solution architecture for kind of an isolation and kind of island support between different production entities or even entities within a production site, or there are alternatives to put a real role-based access control without any jump host or jump servers altogether, just allowing a safe and secure remote access for the end users. And this can be done all in a global manner. Most of the implementations are in Azure or AWS. And then, of course, you have secure tunneling to the sites and from the sites, and high resilience, high availability, and resilience also to fight against latency or slow connections. So there are failovers or other ways of connecting if connections would not start. Some customers even have a solution on every site. If you need to disconnect the site under attack, for instance, from the network, then you can still continue to provide the access and control of systems in a regulated and in a safe way. But that's fine. These are all topics that look complicated, but don't need to be complicated. And I think we have a poll here for the first poll. So how do you find managing your OT assets? How much extra effort does it require? So we'll give you 10-15 seconds to think through and read through the questions and come back with the answers in a moment. So please take your time. Are we getting answers? Thank you. Maybe you can then reveal those as well. One more moment. Yeah. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everybody. So with that, Juha, I would like to hand over to you to talk about the complexity you have seen, the challenges you had in the beginning of your journey when you made investigation and put out the competition to find a solution. Maybe you have a comment on that. Does this resemble the starting point for you some years back?
Yes, OT management has been really complex and hard work. And my reply to that poll now would be somewhat. And we have been finding ways to make things easier. And I think the subject was about the PrivX and why to use it, how to secure it, and why we took the PrivX or any privileged access management solution. And it's because we need the security. At the moment, we have a client-to-LAN VPNs. Okay, they are rather well managed. Then we have LAN-to-LAN VPN tunnels, and we don't actually know who is coming from there. Okay, the sites may know it when they are allowing them to log on to some RDP server or something like that. So that's the first thing, visibility. We need to see who is actually coming. Zero trust.
So you mean identity? You want to see the identity of the users?
Yes, we need to see who is actually coming and doing work on our devices and in our network. Second one came, it was actually rather surprising that the demand came from Southern Europe, that they were scared that, okay, we have these VPNs and they are constantly open. So if there is a LAN-to-LAN VPN tunnel, anyone from that tunnel can come at any time and do whatever they are open for. So just in time, that's exactly why we needed a PrivX. And then the just enough, we already have the just enough while we are controlling those remote connectivities in our firewalls and in our VPNs.
Juha, I remember when we had our first dialogue some years back, I think you were one of the first potential customers back then who asked, hey, can you show us in practice how to do just in time and just enough access? We've never seen it before. And I think that's where we started the journey.
It might be the starting point of this journey, yes. So
Juha, could you maybe open up a little bit about the kind of architecture and design and the challenges related to that? I think you have a slide on that.
Yes. Laura, can you please? So what Rami showed was something that is really complex. And we in the paper and cartonboard industry, we are rather simple people. So we are trying to do things really simple way. And in this diagram, there is the basic connectivity. So we have built our PrivX solution and setup in Azure. This is really simplified because it just says upserve and then there's this router. I'll tell you in a minute why. But basically, it contains the redundant application server setup, key vaults, databases, tons of stuff, but it's all in the Azure. And you can basically connect to it using your web browser. It's SSL encrypted HTTP, meaning HTTPS. And okay, the slides are a bit in a different order than I expected. But basically, you guys I heard that you were interested in seeing where to put the extenders and how the routers work. And in this setup, you can see that it's HTTPS to the application server. Then there is an IPsec tunnel to the site where lies the extender in the OT DMZ. Okay, it could be IT DMZ. And from that DMZ, what is our preferred way to connect is always to go to an RDP server in the DMZ, and from there you can then use AD to control the connectivity to the actual OT. But basically, you can connect via this extender direct to the OT with RDP, HTTP, HTTPS, SSH. Laura, can you please go to the next slide? So this is the simplified connectivity, which allows us to do the RDP, VSE, SSH directly to the site. And our current policy allows it even we are going to the IT. But this is not preferred way. We always want the connectivity to go via RDP servers, because then we have, on top of PrivX, we have also yet another layer of security. And this all is traceable, and we have the logs. When something has gone south, we have material where to investigate. Laura, can you please go to the next one? And this is the most, now why I have the router and extender in these pictures. So this is the most complicated way to connect via PrivX. And as said, we would always want everyone to go via RDP to the site and then operate within the site. Our problem is that we have formed from several mills and companies, and every site has been operating on their own for years. And there was this big gap between the bad, mean central services, like I am, and the sites, the guys working on the mills. And fortunately, we have now almost gotten rid of this gap, and we are now working on the same playground, and we are not enemies to each other anymore. So we, in certain cases, we have to allow direct connectivity from external partners to the OT environment. We have mills, then we have small mills, and then we have really tiny mills. For example, some sawmill, their security is it's like it's nothing. So it might be that we must allow some external company to connect, for example, Siemens Logics or some other devices in the production directly. And this is how it is done in our environment. So we have as said, everything is built in Azure, and we have a firewall in Azure just to handle our VPN connectivity. Why it says VPN is that it can be any kind of VPN. It can be Open VPN, IPsec tunneling, Global Protect, Ivanti, whatever VPN, just that you are able to connect to the router in the Azure. And when you connect to the router, you go to the PAM and make a request that now I would need a connectivity to this point. And when you get the approval, then you can actually connect it from your own PC with whatever custom software to whatever ports. And as I said earlier, we prefer to have the extender, and we would like all the connectivity go via extender and end up in the RDP server, but it's only in a perfect world. Sorry. And another benefit of having extenders in the DM set is that you can use the same non-routable networks on several sites. So like in this picture, it says 192.168.0.0-16 network, and it's on 2 sites. And you can have it on 10 sites or how many sites you want to have them. So these are the reasons. Yes, and we do have the same networks on several sites, because as said, everyone has been doing their work on their own, and only for a couple of last years we have been actually been playing in the same playground, in the same sandbox.
Few questions. So you talk about the PrivX router component. You can keep the picture on. I think it's okay. And so you have added that on top, kind of on top of or behind the VPN, to add more granular control, right? To really have a stronger identity base, and then role-based access control. So that's the role of PrivX router, to really connect from endpoint to the targets in a more controlled manner than you were able to do with just VPN, right?
Yes, that's the idea.
And supporting also all kinds of exotic protocols.
Yes, we need the router for the exotic protocols and exotic software. Yeah. And the idea we have been having with this PrivX installation is that in the past, we have been doing ourselves a lot of work. As I said, does OT increase your amount of work? Yes, it has been a tremendous work to maintain all the connectivity. And in the past, someone on the site needed that this partner needs to connect that endpoint, and they have created a request, and then it comes to us, and we facepalm, and not like this. And we start asking that, can you please elaborate a little bit what you actually need? And from that, we are actually moving to offer a platform instead of keeping up the services. So now here comes the 3 tips of how to install PrivX. we have in Azure, we have groups. We have one for the site admins. Let's say I'm sitting in Imatra Mills. Let's say that we create an Imatra administrators group. And those guys can then do everything that is related to Imatra Mills. They can create a partner group, let's say Valmet. I think no one is surprised that we have this Valmet as one of our supplier. So they create a Valmet group, and then they create approvers group who can actually approve the request of Valmet. Okay, Valmet is really big company, so there might be even more than one Valmet group. And then on the Valmet group, there are the hosts, what these Valmet group people, what they can actually connect or what they can request. And how we, in perfect world, how we want this to be working is that it's night between Saturday and Sunday, and it's 3 a.m. and the winder breaks down. And our line manager or supervisor calls Valmet and tells that, okay, now we need help. This is broken. And the Valmet engineer, the duty officer, will go into the PAM and make a request that now I need to contact these winder components. And request will then go to the supervisor. Okay, shift may have been changed already, but it will go to the supervisor. The supervisor can just admit that, allow, now you have this access for 8 hours so that you can sort this problem out. We are still missing the mobile component, what to my understanding is almost ready to release from SSH, so that the supervisor doesn't need to go to the computer and approve it, but he can do it on his mobile. He will get a push notification that this needs to be approved, and he approves it. So that's our use case for the PrivX.
So you do the for the engineer, service engineer, or other personnel. They do their request within the solution, right? So they sign up, they are identified, then they can make a request, and then the shift or site manager will or will not approve that for the duration of the job to be done.
Exactly.
Within the system itself, within the system. So you're not using an external ticketing system, or using the solution itself to handle the requests and approvals for the roles.
And from the starting point, what I said, all this has been managed by us as a service. There has been a VPN to Valmet, and this connectivity has always been open. There has been a case where some old VPN, it got somehow broken or deleted. It was a bit before my time. And this is actual case that the winder broke down, and they had to actually cease the production for a while because the remote connectivity didn't work. And the nicest part here is that we are now offering a platform. The sites can do themselves all the work. So they will be happy because the sites are able to actually do what they are needed to do. They don't need to request it from us and then wait for a week and see if it's properly done. And we are happy because we don't have to be scrutinizing their requests anymore. We just do the auditing stuff on top of that. And if we find that someone has done something really stupid, then we will go and tell them to fix it.
So instead of even trying to behave like a centralized service or centralized bottleneck, you push the job to the operational guys in the different mills and factories themselves to manage the roles and manage the approvals.
Yes, exactly. And we will be overseeing it.
Another go ahead, please. No, I want another question now, because you have suppliers. You mentioned Valmet. You certainly have Siemens. You certainly have Schneider and many other suppliers that need to have access to your systems. How easy or difficult has it been to kind of, because you're adding now a layer of security and layer of service also to those external companies. How easy or difficult has it been to get them on board and maybe resolve some overlapping solutions that they wanted to put in place themselves?
Yes. Now that we're talking about this, there's only one partner who has told us that, oh no, not the PrivX. And to them, I actually told that you can do things in two ways. You can do it well, or you can do it really poorly. And we are at least trying to do this well. So everyone has been really happy with this. And there is one of the catches. Well, this is now, I think, third move to next generation client to LAN solution or external partner connectivity solution. And I have found that need is really good thing to speed things up, because you can be there wondering that where do I get those pilots, and which partner should I contact to actually start testing this. But like in this case, we had a partner. Okay, I don't think it's too much of a revelation if I tell you that we are using Palo Alto Global Protect as our VPN for the external partners. And there was a partner who was complaining that this doesn't work. And of course, they didn't call their own IT, they called us. And we had a debug session with them, and we noted that, okay, you have the Global Protect, and you should connect to our external partners Global Protect portal and gateway, but you cannot, because you are using it on your own company. Yeah, and your own company IT is even more Nazis than we are. They are making all sorts of registrations. It's not possible. And we are not your IT. We cannot overrun your IT decisions. So what to do? Hey, we have this PAM solution. It doesn't need any kind of VPN client if you are not using the router. And they didn't need. They just need an RDP to our server. So we just change it to the PAM, and voila, we have our pilot user. That's an actual case that happened. So our partners have been really keen and pleased about this change, because now they don't need to fiddle with any sort of VPN client. So yes,
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Lauri, you can move to the other picture without the router in there. Please. No, not that's fine. Let's keep it there. Juha, there's in the chat there are some questions related to both the kind of router component for securing usage of external workstation, but also to extender. Could you explain a little bit how you saw and how you're using extender, and what is the role of that in your kind of allowing people in, or actually opening the connection from within the sites to allow access then?
Okay. Now I start to release the company secrets. For example, one of the secrets is that we are actually trying to apply some new things like security. So what we are doing, we are splitting our IT and OT networks really. So currently we have, or we are in phase of transition. We have an IT, one routing instance where we have our basically production networks. And of course, most of the production is not even routed in our one network, MPLS. And now we are really splitting it. We will have several routing instances. I'll try to keep this simple. As I said, we paper people are simple people. So we have one for the IT and one for the OT. And they are totally separated. And we have certain hub points where you can actually talk from IT to OT. And this Azure stuff, it's definitely not our OT. Okay, we have OT Azure, but that's totally separate story. But we can now connect from the Azure to the OT on the site, and that needs an extender. Okay, that's not actually true, but that's how we have defined it. It must have an extender, so that it will be an IPsec tunnel between the Azure PrivX application servers and the actual site. It's scripted, and as said, on the OT side, it ends up in the DMZ. And from there, there's we hope that it's jumped to the RDP server, and they will be operating everything from the RDP server. Unfortunately, as said, some of our sites, they are just not mature enough for that.
Yeah,
I hope this at least somehow answers the question. And of course, yes, as I said, most of the production networks, they are not even routed in in our one network, MPLS. On that, we are also moving. We have tons of asset. Everyone has been playing on their own mills, their own sites, and we have overlapping networks, tons of them. So networks overlap. You cannot connect them from somewhere without the extender because they are not routed and they are overlapping. It cannot be routed. We are moving into routable OT networks, but as said, it's also moving to totally separate routing instance, and we are applying the security.
Yeah, so kind of two, if I understand correctly your point, so two benefits of putting an extender at every site. One is to come around the problem of overlapping IP addresses, because then you still can access without that problem. So it's an easy fix for that problem. And the other one is that you don't want to publicize or publish all targets in the sites directly to be routable. You just want to have one control point that calls back, and then you open the connection to the target that way, so that it's not free port in for everybody. You have the control point with the extender at every site.
Yes, and if something really goes south and we have this need to start cutting down the connectivity, it's easier to just cut down the extender than to just figuring out where the connections are actually going.
Hey, there's one question on the chat here. The option of an IT network, because you need to connect, like you showed in your picture, connect to the IT network, MES systems and ERP systems and solutions like that. In the IT network, does that need, in your opinion, also an extender or not?
Now if you ask my opinion, yes. If you want the technical answer, then no, it doesn't need extender. But my personal opinion is that, we were talking with my colleagues the other day that maybe we should actually demand that everything is going via extenders in IT and OT on both of those. But it's something that is still a bit of an open question for us, because it's so easy to just do the endpoint in the IT without the extender, although it's not that much of harder even with the extender.
Yeah, I may have a proposal there why to use it also in IT networks, because we are now developing a next generation of or addition to the extender, PrivX extender connection to implement the quantum safe post-quantum cryptography algorithms and key exchange there. So you can protect all of the connections with the quantum safe algorithms out of the box. This is in the development at the moment. There's a project with some external stakeholders involved as well. So you kind of take your OT networks and OT connections onto quantum safe level by putting a tunnel in between that does it.
Yes, and I have to admit that when we started the implementation, we had two components on the site. We had the carrier and the extender. And I have to tell you that it was really a relief when you actually join them, that we have only the extender that needs to be put on the site, because you needed the carrier in order to sort out all those non-standard protocols. And now we can go with one extender, and installing the extender is rather a simple task to do.
Yeah, and then there's other question here. I think there was a question that can one PrivX extender be used for multiple sites? No, you would need to have an extender at every site is the answer. I can do it that quickly myself. And then there's one more question, totally different from there. There are a couple of questions related to the router, PrivX router capture or RBAC control. One is that does the IPsec tunnel have to terminate at the PrivX extender, or can it be extended to the point before, then be rerouted to the extender? I'm not sure if you understand the question. I couldn't answer that.
I think this might be about the thing that we actually knocked our heads on the wall, because we expected. I'm sorry, Rami, but the documentation was not that good or we didn't actually read the documentation either. But anyways, we expected that when you come from the VP and you go to the router, and then it may be a little bit talk with application servers or key vaults or something, and then it will form the IPsec tunnel. But the truth is that the router component is actually an IP tables machine. It controls what is going through, and IPsec tunnel terminates always in the application server. This is something that we learned somewhere along the way. I hope this answered the question. But IPsec tunnel is always terminated in application server and the extender. It's between those two endpoints.
Yeah, then there was another question there that are there any plans to record the OT protocols like Modbus, S7, many others, when the router is used? Because at the moment, of course, it is a router, so we don't proxy the session. We don't capture and proxy the session. Of course, we get all the audit data of identity of the user, the role required, requested and approved, and of course the session metadata or session information, but not the content. So that is certainly an area we're investigating and looking at how that could be deployed. But at the moment, those router rerouted end-to-endpoint industrial protocols cannot be recorded. And the question is, what would you even do with that protocol content? But that's another question. So, but it's an area of investigation and potential development for us as well. And then there's another couple of questions here. I have a few for you as well, Juha, but there's some question about the audit logs and analysis, a question whether Extender does it. Extender is just a reverse proxy in a way from the sites to Open Tunnel. It is the PrivX core, and in instances, whether they are geographical or centralized high availability instances, do the job of audit trails, audit logs, and recordings. And also one thing I didn't mention in the beginning is that when you use a tool like this, it's really useful for patch management, because you can restrict with the linking the PrivX file management or file transfers to external AV checkers, so you can check that only the right kind of file types can be uploaded, that can be checked that the files don't have viruses or malware before they are passed on. So we kind of sandbox the files before they go up, because so much problems come from bad patch files. So that's one other topic which was not mentioned here earlier. Can you talk a little bit about, Juha, maybe about kind of how you authenticate the users and MFA?
Yeah, I think there is some question about identity. Now I can see that also about the identity separation. And okay, this PrivX is part of our really big project, which is called SDI, Standards Driven Infrastructure. And it began something like almost 10 years ago when our main infra architect, the highest guard, called us into the Torna clubhouse, and he told us that, okay, those shall now separate IT and OT Active Directories. This is now called AD3. And it has changed its name several times already. And actually the project is cancelled already, but we are still doing exactly the same work. It contains about segmenting of the network. It contains this routing changes I told. It contains also changes in the AD. And now we are hitting the identity management. In our plan or roadmap, there was integration with an identity management tool. And unfortunately, these cutbacks have caused most of those people to be let go. And there's only a couple of guys who are also overutilized. As everyone seems to be, at least on IT nowadays, everyone are absolutely totally overutilized. So they have fallen back in their timetables. So we have an idea of our own identity management, which then integrates with PrivX. And the integration is done via these Azure groups. As I said, we have to do the groups of these companies and these administrators and approvers. Actually, it should come automatically from the identity management tool. We are authenticating these users against their own Microsoft or Azure identity. So we are enforcing the MFA. So first, they have to log on to the PrivX. Okay. It's single sign-on, but still, it's their own identity. And cool thing here is that if someone is let go from their company, they cancel their accounts, they lock them. But guess what? They are not going to tell us. Okay, I forgot to send you the email that John is not working with us anymore. So when they close up those accounts, they will also cancel the ability to connect to the PrivX. And as said, AD separation. So, okay, yet again, let's simplify this a lot. Let's say that all the sites have their own small production Active Directory, and they are themselves on the site managing it. So on perfect world, you come in from the PrivX and you get to the site, the MZ, and you get onto the RDP server, and you need the local credentials for that one. So first the general access and then the local access. That's how we are handling it.
There's a question maybe related to that one as well. Well, here is that where was it here now? Something about vaulting. Where is it now? Here is a question. Just a second. I don't find that question any more interesting, but there was a question about vaulting. So of course the solution has also vault, actually two of them, also secret vault. So we can automatically pass the password to the target if necessary, and of course users can then, if their role allows it, to kind of fetch a secret from a secret.
I have an example of that one also. So yet again, one of our partners, they had the accounts absolutely in mess, our AD accounts, and they were using our client LAN solution, and okay, they are not working because the passwords are locked, and they don't work because this and that, and now Maria doesn't have access to this one, and Seppo doesn't have access to that one, and so on. So that one was sorted out, at least partially, so that we have, when someone from that company logs on and chooses the target, it feeds in the username and the password. Those people don't actually even know the username or the password. Okay, downside is that if several people are trying to connect the same server at the same time, it will just kick off the previous guy every time when someone logs in. But in this case, it was not that much of a problem. So that about the vaulting. And also we still, as said, we are in beginning of our just in time, just enough, and zero trust path. So we are not yet using password rotations and in that sense, vaulting of the passwords. But this is something that once we get familiar with this environment, we will definitely investigate further.
Yeah. So you certainly don't want all the passwords, whether they are 0000 or 1 2 3 4 5 6.
No,
don't want people to know them anyways, right?
Yeah.
Very good. And there's one more question here before we have a poll maybe in between here. Can we use just one PrivX to manage IT and OT domain in the same time? So for example, in manufacturing side, they have IT servers, other devices, and OT devices in the different building. And I'll answer quickly, and Juha, you can say how you've kind of separated the networks and instances, because you're using the solution both for OT and IT. And technically, of course, you can just have one instance. Of course, it's always high availability and with load balancers to keep it running and keep, get the 4 nines and 4.5 nines availability. But many customers have separated them. You can connect multiple identity sources. You can have as many ADs or LDAPs or Azure ADs or other identity sources. You could segregate roles, IT roles or OT roles, and grant different access approval rights for those. So definitely you can. So what is your opinion, Juha? Would it be better to have separate instance for IT, separate for OT, or bundle everything together?
It's good to answer, because I had exactly this discussion today, because now I'm here in the mill site again, and I went to see old friends in the downstairs, which are the local IT guys, and talked about the PrivX. And one guy saw this schema, these diagrams, and he said, "Hey, you should have PrivX on each of the sites." And I was like, oh. So you want to ante up the cost like times 80. And his opinion was that you have to have the PrivX on each of the sites, because in zero trust, you have to assume that you have the assailant already in your network. And okay, it would be nice to have 2 PrivXs, and then you have 2 instances to maintain and manage. Would it be again the same people who would be doing it? So it would be a double work. So our approach has been 1 instance of PrivX, because it's anyways the same people who are working with it. If we do it properly with segmentations and other things, if you're doing other things well, then 1 instance is sufficient. I wouldn't mind if we would have 2, but I said, okay, let's create more work for us.
Yeah, and the 1 instance is load balanced and high availability, the scalability already built in because of the architecture. So it's not that you need more instances because of performance or scalability purposes.
Yes, and like our setup is built up, it's scalable. So if we now start to need more capabilities in it, we will start spinning up more servers.
Yeah, actually a question on that, how many users do you have, if you can tell about it? How many users do you actually have around in your environment? I don't even know it, so I'm curious to hear.
So now you're yet again a very good and very embarrassing question, because I have to say I don't know. We can know our own people. We can count our own workers, and I know that we have over 1,300 client LAN users on our old VPN solution. And we are in some hundreds in PrivX at the moment, but I cannot know how many users are actually coming in via LAN-to-LAN VPN tunnels.
Yeah.
For that, I would need to do a poll to our sites that how many Valmet people are connecting, or how many ABP people are connecting to your systems. And most probably they don't want to give any answers either, because people are coming and going and situation is leaving. So that's also one thing we are trying to get hold of. As I said, we need to know who is in our network, and when people are coming and going, how we manage that most easiest way.
Yeah, but thousands.
So my final answer is, I don't know. I don't know actual numbers. I just know that we have something like 1,300 client LAN VPN users at the moment.
Yeah. Great. Hey, we have a poll here. Why don't we do a quick poll here before we start to finish? So the poll, I think, is posted now. So please have a look at it, please, and we'll be quiet for a while for you to read through it. So how far are you on your journey towards zero trust and just enough and just in time access controls? Are we getting answers? So we'll give a few more seconds so that you can make up your mind. And Juha, before we even see the results soon, could you tell where you think you are at Stora Enso?
I was about to wait until the poll is over, but we have just begun.
So if you can share the results now.
This is so enormous subject, zero trust, that in company-wide, we really are in just a beginning phase. We have separate sites like this Imatra Mills. I would say this is a zero trust implemented site, because these guys, they don't trust themselves when they come to work in the morning. But they must, first thing they need to do in the morning is to go to their own portal and start selecting what they can actually do. Can they administer storage SANs, or can they administer this or that? So that's really a zero trust. They trust no one and nothing, not even themselves. But as a company, I said, we have so immature sites that they have flat networks, no firewalls, nothing. But now we are getting firewalls to all of the sites, and we are doing the segmentation, and we are building building, and we are, to my understanding, we are on a way to zero trust, but it's so long path if you really actually implement the full zero trust model.
Hey, I have a couple of, there's one more question on the chat as well, but kind of on your experiences. I know from one of your peer companies, it used to take not even hours, but even maybe days to grant access to some external, for instance, a new worker as a supplier. And now they think they can do it with the request and approval process in the matter of minutes. What is your experience in type of, what has this given you in terms of, well, first of all, maybe automation, but maybe more so for the productivity?
You mean setting up a new connectivity?
No, using the solution in terms of giving people quick access when they actually need it. So has this helped you to be more quicker and faster in having the access facilitated for people who need it?
Good question. Yes and no. I don't have that much of an experience on that side, because I'm more like a supervisor of this system than you. But because when client LAN is built, it's built and it's there and it's always there. So not maybe on that side. It's not helping.
But I think to me it sounds like, since you've been able to kind of push this down the organization to people who really manage their own sites to approve it themselves, that must give some productivity benefits.
Yeah, that's where I was coming to, that now that we are not scrutinizing, they don't have to come asking from us that, guys, could you please please. But they are granted themselves to do what is needed. So I would expect everything to be quicker. I don't know, because it depends on someone else. It doesn't anymore depend on me.
Yeah.
So I would expect that it's faster.
Yeah. And final question from me to you was, what was your experience then in the design and implementation deployment of the solution itself and the required networks changes, setups to make it work? What is your how do you rate your own success in that respect?
We are still implementing. I don't see that our implementation is complete yet, because there are still some things we want to fix. Well, my understanding of Azure, especially when this whole project began, it was less than perfect. I have to thank that I have really good specialists working for us. And now that it's built, okay, now it's crystal clear that it's like this. How I couldn't see it. And also on earlier implementation phase, there was 2 times this phase when I noted, unfortunately it was me who noted, that this is not now going right. We are missing something, and we had to go back to the drawing board. It was the first time it was from me, and second time it was from actually SSH side. So my advice is to plan well. That's the key to the success. I suppose everyone in here knows the basic fact that when you have done something once, you know how it should have been done. And like we did the test environment, and then we did the production environment based on the experiences on the test environment. But maybe we should have built the test environment even further before we move to the production environment.
Yeah.
But be careful with the planning.
Okay, I think we're coming to an end of ad hoc questions from the audience and some of the questions that I've been asking you, Juha. I think we could be generous and give people a few more minutes in between the next meeting starting, probably for most of us. So with that, I'd like to thank you, especially Juha, for joining this, and thank you for being so open with your comments and honest with your comments.
Well, I'm not telling you how to create carton board, or I'm not telling you how HR is working, or how our things are budgetized, or any secrets. To me, these are technical facts and technical experiences.
Yeah.
And I would assume that if someone has any more questions, you can send them to Lauri, for example, and he can relay them to me, because I in general I like to help people, and I have been banging my head on the wall on this matter for quite some time now. So if I can help anyone else to not get the headache I have had, then I'll be glad to help.
Thank you, Juha. That's generous of you, and I'm sure people will get to that. So let's organize a way to get you involved in those cases where people need help and advice from the horse's mouth, as they say, from real implementation. And super thanks for everybody in the audience. I hope you've been having the interest to stay with us till the end, like here. And don't hesitate to be in touch with you. We will certainly be reaching out to you as well from our side. Once again, thank you very much, Juha, and wish you all the well, and we'll stay in touch definitely moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.